So again, we said one of the things that's different about the 1950s compared to the 1850s, if you will, is the inclusion of these expert opinions. Now, women are, the home is their domain, but you better check with somebody before you make a decision. And so I've got two good examples of these expert opinions. And the second one, Kinsey, shows that there's kind of starting to be some cracks in the system. And then Betty Friedan, with her feminine mystique, is going to explode the system. So first is Dr. Spock. So he wrote this book, Baby and Child Care, in 1946. This is Dr. Benjamin Spock, not Star Trek Spock. So in 1946, he publishes Baby and Child Care. It's basically, if any of you have children today, or if you family members, there's the what to expect when you're expecting. That's kind of the manual that's used today. Well, in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, it was Baby and Child Care. Between 1946 and 1960, there were 1 million copies a year of this book. So everybody's reading this book. And I'm kind of bummed because I've got the book in my office, so I can't, usually I bring it to class and I can show it to you. Got it on eBay, a 1946 edition. What I show students usually is the table of contents. If you look at the table of contents, it's so like specific, like all the stuff that like you need to know through like all of childhood. And it actually starts off kind of like the first page says something along the lines, I'm just trying to pull from my memory here, about how like you should trust yourself, that this is your child. It's all directed to a woman. There's no directing this to the father. It's all directed to the mother. But there's at the end of the book, there's a section, and that section's called Special Problems. And in the Special Problems section, there's a whole chapter devoted to the working mother. So note, there's no chapter devoted to the working father, because the assumption is he would be working. But having a mother work would be a special problem. And then again, I'm just speaking off the top of my head here because I don't have the book in front of me, but the passage that I usually read in that section says something along the lines of, if the mother is working, the child usually will turn out okay. Usually. Right? So the idea is that the mother shouldn't be working. And he suggests if you want to go to like get your hair done, or if you want to go to like a book club, that's okay. Or it's not a book club, it's a movie, I think is what it says. But if you want to have a job, there's probably something wrong with you if you're a woman and you don't want to be with your child all the time. There's something that you should have that checked. Now Kinsey, he starts to show kind of some cracks in the system, because Kinsey, he first wrote Sexual Behavior in the Human Male in 1950, and in 1953 he did Sexual Behavior in the Human Female, and he had many people in his study, and he questioned them about various aspects of their sexuality, and he found that 50% of the women that he talked to admitted to having sex before marriage, which doesn't meet up with the image that's being portrayed of how they're supposed to be behaving. 50% of them are having sex before marriage. So this is kind of maybe suggest a crack in the system. And then about a quarter of the people he spoke to admitted to having homosexual tendencies. Now, Kinsey has a pretty fluid scale of sexuality, so 25% might sound higher than we would expect, but it's because his scale is very fluid. But 25%, right? Again, that's not meeting this like status quo that's being established in the 50s. So it suggests maybe there's some cracks in the system. And then Saturday Evening Post, it's a real popular magazine in this period. They did a study of a couple thousand women to see what does the American woman look like in the 1950s, and they decided she's got everything she wants. However, a couple of things they determined. So first, something like 98% of women they questioned said they were extremely happy or very happy. Extremely happy or very happy, right? 98% of them. But then, when they asked them, and I suspect this is maybe at some other point in the questionnaire, do you want your daughter to live the life that you have lived? And remember, 96 to 98% of them said they were extremely happy or very happy. But when they were asked, do you want your daughter to live the life that you have lived? 90% of them said no. So even though these women are extremely happy or very happy, 90% of them do not want their daughter to live their life, which again suggests a disconnect. And so Betty Friedan is going to expose that disconnect for us with the feminine mystique. I'm giving you some passages to think about in the module, and then you've got a film clip that also contextualizes it for you. Take care.